red flags popping up. Oh, all right. The long form census. They're talking about the census now. I remember having a run-in with a census taker, and the punishment for not filling out a census, is a $500 fine. Now, that is just downright immoral. I mean, you can't point guns at people. What if I refuse to pay the $500 fine? Well, then they're going to escalate force. I'm going to go to jail. You know, state power. This idea that we need this information or you must be punished is utterly antithetical to a free society. You know, they want this information so that they can manage us better. I mean, essentially to them, we're taxed livestock. We are on a tax farm and they want to manage their cattle. And so like any farmer, you know, as I grew up on the farm, we weighed our cows, we monitored their diet, we looked at what was coming out of their rear ends to see how they were digesting things. We looked under their ears for ticks. I mean, this is what the government is doing to us with the long form census. They're wanting to see exactly what's going on in our households, and you know, so that they can farm us better. So I'm with Harper on this one. I mean, this idea that we need to force Canadians to fill out a bunch of forms is kind of silly. Yeah, that might be true, Jason. A federal minimum wage of $15 an hour. Stephen Harper, or Tom Mulcair just said. And of course, we know that minimum wages lead to unemployment among the most marginal in society, those who have fewer job skills, people you know, who are, you know, people who have no job skills, who aren't worth $15 an hour, who an employer, you know, I owned a business and I wouldn't pay, you know, if you couldn't do the job, you know, I would pay you what you were worth, or you could leave. And in fact, there should be no prohibition on me paying an employer for the privilege of working for them. You know, and that's exactly what we do. I mean, I remember when I was taking my paramedic training, I had to do a practicum. I had to pay for that. I went out there and worked on the ambulance, and I loved it. And I was happy to pay the fee because I was gaining valuable knowledge and skills. I was investing in my education, and I knew that I was going to come out of there and I was going to be able to be more valuable to other employers and be able to command a higher wage. So there should be no prohibition on an employee paying an employer to work for him, let alone you know, a prohibition on paying someone under $15 an hour. That's utterly ridiculous. I remember John Stewart railing against the minimum wage, and it turned out he didn't even pay his interns anything. So, you know, there's no principles here. These are all just general platitudes and vague, you know, artifacts of political theater, really. We need to invest right now. No, we don't need to do anything. You can do what you want, Justin. I'll do what I want. We don't need to do anything. What's this we stuff? No, the poor don't need a minimum wage. I mean, if you're poor, it's because people aren't willing to pay you for the work you're doing. And the way you find out what people are willing to pay you is you get more job skills and you apply and say, look, I can do this and that. And you get an accurate assessment. This is how much I value your skill set as an employer. I'm willing to pay you $10 an hour, no more. Right? You know, you work hard, you earn some more, get some more skills, I'll pay you some more. But right, you know, the poor are the ones that are affected first with the minimum wage. They can't get jobs. I mean, I just think of my kids not being able to get a job because an employer is forced to pay them $15 an hour, and they're not worth that. Listen, my kids aren't worth $15 an hour right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. My daughter and my son, the oldest ones, are definitely worth that. They're up and comers, and they're doing a lot of good work, and they're getting raises, so they're learning it. But they started out below $15 an hour. They started out at 10, 12, and now, you know, actually my son, I think, has got a raise to $25 an hour. My daughter around $20 an hour. So they're climbing up, and the reason they're climbing up is because they were able to get jobs at $10 an hour. If they weren't able to get those jobs, well, they'd be screwed. They wouldn't be worth $20, $25 an hour now. Thomas Mulcair and Trudeau are talking over each other right now. Mulcair is a man of the people. He's there to protect the workers by making them unemployable, I guess. Trudeau is making a good point here. I mean, this is only for federal workers, so it's not like Tom Mulcair is implementing a $15 an hour minimum wage for all workers across Canada. He's simply doing it for federal workers, people that work for the federal government. But the way he trots it out, it's as if he's, you know, he's creating a $15 an hour minimum wage for everyone. But of course, that's just not true. But he'll pick up a lot of votes for it from people that think they're going to be getting a raise. Oh, now Stephen Harper is talking about the universal child care benefit. He's helped Canadian families. Remember that check all families got a couple months ago, the Conservatives bribing families for their vote? Why take that money from us in the first place? Why not let us keep it? Why, you know? Guess they had some extra money, imagine that. And what about single guys or single gals who don't have kids? Why shouldn't they get a refund? I mean, they're having to pay for families. I mean, I've got kids. Thanks, Harper. You sent us a check, as meager as it was, but didn't need it, didn't want to take it from a single guy who chose not to have kids, or a single gal who's trying to work and you know, earn a professional stature. There's no need to punish them. Taxation we go to now. Oh, Tommy Mulcair is going to raise corporate taxes from 15 to 17%. See, corporations are bad to Tom Mulcair. And of course, Tom Mulcair has never owned or run a corporation of any stature in his life, and you know, I mean, this idea that we're going to be able to stimulate the economy by driving business away from Canada is utterly ridiculous. How is taxing the productive, you know, the productive sector in society going to help Canadians? It's going to drive business away. It's going to drive jobs away. Our policy is to decrease taxation, decrease corporate taxation. In fact, we want to stimulate the economy immediately by doing something radical called reducing corporate taxation to 0%. Could you imagine the amount of foreign investment, the amount of Canadian investment we would get into the labor market, into the consumer market, into all businesses, if people could just start a corporation and start making money in that corporation with zero parasites attached to it at all? That's what stimulates the economy. Having money go to the government does not stimulate the economy. It ruins the economy. It does the opposite. The wealthiest start paying their fair share. And what, pray tell, is their fair share? So they're talking about a progressive income tax, obviously. This idea that if you make more, the more productive you are, the more tax percentage of your income you should pay. You know, we're going with a 15% flat tax. We say it doesn't matter. You know, everyone pays the same. same percentage. But in actual fact, I think what would be maybe even a more fair tax would be everyone pays the same dollar amount. I mean, that's what we pay when we go to any business. I mean, the rich people don't pay a percentage based on their income for a grapple grommet or an iPhone. Everyone pays $600 for an iPhone. Rich people don't pay, $10,000 for an iPhone. So why should it be any different for government services? If there's a government service called X, shouldn't we all pay the same amount in terms of dollar figures? But, a flat tax is far fairer than a progressive tax. The idea that we need to punish people for being productive is, I don't get it. Yeah. Harper's making a good point here. He's, this idea that the NDP can balance the budget by increasing taxes. Just because you increase taxes doesn't mean you get more revenue, but in their simpleton minds, they imagine that, 2% more taxes means 2% more money into the economy. No, so it doesn't work like that. In fact, there are studies that show that with a flat tax, you can take that percentage down to single digits, and it will actually keep your revenues the same, or actually increase revenues, because everyone's making way more money. So they end up paying more tax dollars, even at a far lower percent, because they're not having their productivity sucked off of them. So this idea that raising 2% more taxes means you're going to get 2% more money is silly. It's naive. It's childish. But then Tom Mulcair has mortgaged his house 10, 11 times. So we know that he likes going in debt to stimulate his household economy, and we can expect the same thing, I imagine, if he were in government. The one good thing that Tommy did is that he took the word socialism out of the NDP constitution. I guess he didn't want people catching on that they were socialists. Yeah, up until 3 or 4 months ago, socialism was in their. They wanted to socialize production. I mean, that was right in their constitution. It's gone now, so we can rest at ease, I guess. They're not socialists anymore, but I was blown away when I saw it. I was like, it's naked right there in front of us. They want socialism. It's right in their constitution. Oh, now they're talking about Bill C-51. Justin's coming out swinging. I'll give it to him that way. I was hoping my buddy Nick Ring would be here tonight. He is a UFC fighter. He's been training me lately in the art of MMA, and I was hoping to maybe challenge Trudeau to a charity MMA match. But yeah, Nick the Promise Ring, you betcha. Why is Trudeau wrong about consumer spending driving growth? Well, yeah, of course, what drives growth is producing things. It's productivity. I mean, that is literally what growth is, right? Economic growth is you have more capital wealth, you have more things, you have the ability to flourish. It's not buying more things. I mean, spending money doesn't in and of itself create economic flourishing. Producing things. So if your buying power is terrible and you spend all your money on that one iPhone, you're not getting much productivity. If your buying power is good, if money isn't inflated, if the money supply isn't terribly inflated, well, you'll be able to buy more things. Prices will come down over time. They won't go up over time. So, you know, a big part of our economic woe